Blessings, Soul Family. This is Jules with Activate Evolution live interactive show, and I am super excited to move into our topic today. We're going to talk about reprogramming reality through cellular intelligence. And most of people that have kind of been playing with us for a while know have heard at least the word DQ before. And DQ, in this instance, because we are going to be using it and manifesting, is stands for DNA expression cellular upgrade. And what we're doing when we're tapping into the frequency behind DQ is that we're using our cells or reprogramming our cells to hold higher frequency identities in order to shift reality. So how do we do that? And that just seems like such a weird way of approaching reality. And so I want to just tap into what creates reality now in most people's lives. So our body holds an environment, and our cells are within that environment, and our consciousness is in that environment. Most of the times you think about environment as where you live, or even when you're at school or at work or wherever it is that you are. But the one environment that goes everywhere we go is our body. And our body has a frequency, and that frequency most often is created through our thoughts. And it's most people know that we can change our thoughts, which can change our bodies and also change the way we see life or our perspective. But most people don't know that it's a lot faster to shift consciousness when we actually shift cellular intelligence first. And why would that be? Well, our cells just want to be told what to do. This is science has proven now that our cells have a consciousness. And I think it's Bruce Lipton has a saying that they're like little soldiers that are just waiting to be told what to do. And when we are unconsciously telling ourselves what to do, one of those things could be degeneration. It could be creating a reality of unworthiness, of lack, of self-hatred, like all of these things that we unconsciously can create just by our thoughts. That our bodies are actually going to take on that intelligence too. But our cells, when we are having these kind of thoughts, are just downloading all of this information and then creates a frequency that our body is holding. And that frequency is then resonating with reality, and reality shows us exactly what our programming is, because our thoughts create programming, especially when it's repeated over and over and over again. So with that, know that every thought that you have, especially if it's repeated, is being downloaded on a cellular level. Your cells are now holding that thought pattern or program as a frequency. That frequency is being held in your body. Your body is walking around in the world and it is attracting reality that matches that frequency. And so what we do with DQ is we teach you how to be aware of what the program of your cells are holding. So awareness is the first part. And when we get really good at DQ, we learn to trace energy. And this energy or frequency has information in it. And when we start to trace on a cellular level, there's a lot of information that cell is holding. And when we can tap in, just like you would be reading a computer program, you can see just what that cell is programmed to create in a reality or the environment of your body that is then resonating in the reality that it's creating. So what we do with DQ is we go in with awareness and we start to read the program that the cell is holding. And once we are aware of what that is, we take out the program just like you would if you're reprogramming a computer program. You take out the viruses that are interrupting the reality that you're trying to create. And then you download a higher frequency identity. And what we use for identity is the I am. So I am worthy would be something that maybe we would replace unworthiness with. Or I am abundant if you have a program of lack and scarcity. Well, why would we do that? So this is where DQ starts to get really, really fun, is because when we can teach on a cellular level how to shift identity, and you're using the one part of your body that is the easiest part to reprogram, your cells, because they're just waiting to be told what to do. But now you're doing it consciously and with intention. So that cell is going to hold that intention a lot stronger than any other thought that may be running after the intention or the reprogramming has been done. So that cell then starts to express the frequency of I am worthy or I am abundant into your environment that your consciousness is consistently in. So then your body becomes the very vehicle of creating the reality that you want. And eventually, your consciousness will start to attune to the frequency that your body is holding. And I can give you an example of how powerful this can be. We all have the experience of walking into a room after somebody's had a fight. And you walk in and you immediately, your body's like this doesn't feel good. And if you're there for, let's say you actually have to move in with these people and they're always fighting. And where you were before was peaceful and loving and just everything was so beautiful and you really enjoyed being where you were. It would be really hard to keep the same frequency or thoughts that you had in the nice environment versus the environment where there was fighting all the time. Eventually, you would start to consciously attune to the frequency of the fighting, and it would be really hard to keep your frequency up. I think we all know that this is true. So when we start to change the environment of our body to hold higher frequencies, it's a lot easier to hold higher level of thought, higher perspective of thought. We feel more freedom and we feel more empowered in creating the reality that we want to create. The other really cool thing about shifting identity at the cells is that when we shift identity on a cellular level, we are also shifting the identity on a conscious level. Identity is actually one of the hardest things to reprogram because our ego is identified in the persona that we hold. And this can be in different areas. Like you could have an identity around being a mom, around being a boss, around being a wife. But if those identities start to get taken away, and one way this could show up is, let's say that you're a mom and you had 5 kids and your whole life was about raising these kids. And then all of a sudden the last one leaves the nest and you're all of a sudden the identity of who you were as a mom completely shifts. Well, then you're trying to find out, well, who am I now? Because I'm not the mom anymore. I'm not the mom in the way that I was identifying in. And so you have to kind of like recreate an identity to become. And most people will go through some sort of grief or loss around that because such a huge part of how they saw themselves was taken away. Well, when we shift identity on a cellular level, it allows the ego to also shift identity really, really quickly. Well, why is another reason we would want to do that? Well, as we start to create higher frequency realities, we want to start to attune to frequencies outside of our programming. So if we're reprogramming a cell to hold, let's say, I am abundant, when we are doing that and our intention is to hold a reality of I am abundant, we are tuning in to a frequency just by that intention. So when we're reprogramming the cell, say I am abundant, and we are intentionally creating a reality around I am abundant, a frequency comes into our field of reference because that's what we're focusing on. When we use identity of I am abundant, and we use that to start to attune to the frequency that's holding that reality, that frequency has an intelligence. And if we can only identify in who we are in the frequency that we're holding now, it's really hard to shift into the frequency where we are abundant. So when we can teach the cells how to shift identity, our body is holding an environment for us to also shift identity. And it's a lot easier to attune to the frequency of I am abundant and then meet the consciousness or the intelligence of that frequency so that we can start to create a new identity around who we are in an abundant life. And in that case, then the cells in our consciousness come together, attune to the frequency of an abundant life, and then that reality is expressed and we have the experience of it. I call this going from 1 to 10 because we can go through all the things that we have to go through in order to become abundant and clear all the belief systems and do all these different things. But the truth is, we're never actually going to change unless we shift identity. And when you can shift identity on a cellular level first, your consciousness will learn to shift identity twice as fast because the environment that your consciousness is in is programmed to do that. So just really, it's like kind of taking everything and turning it inside out. It's like, okay, we could do it from here, or we can actually just let our body do it because our body is designed to be programmed to the highest frequency. And that's how we can use a DQ to actually program to our divine design. The more attuned we get to the actual intelligence that our cells are holding, once we kind of start to take out all of the programming that has been done over our lifetime, we start to get down to these really beautiful frequency patterns that are there to be expressed through our soul's essence. And that's when DQ actually gets really, really fun because then we are tuning to divine guidance and divine intelligence. And that intelligence is starting to be expressed into our bodies. And we're no longer having to say, I am something. We just become the expression of the beautiful truth that we are. When that expression starts to move into the environment of our body, that's when our consciousness really shifts to a very high level and we can enter what I call creation or creator consciousness. It's when you are the creator and the creation at the same time. And this is all a practice that we do over time. And so when we use DQ, we're attuning ourselves to be aware of what our programming is, using that programming as information, and then reprogramming the viruses that are keeping the environment of our bodies in lower frequencies and bringing them into higher frequencies. It really is that easy. It's like, why haven't we been doing this before when it all comes down to it? There's one thing that was coming in, and let me see if I can remember it again. How about we do a quick DQ around abundance, just because that's one place I feel like we all are ready to step into. To live an abundant life, and whether that's financial or abundance in love, abundance in self love. Abundance comes in so many different ways, but abundance is a frequency. Abundance is a frequency, and that frequency is, what would be fun? Let's have everybody just softly put what intention around abundance that you have. And if it's a dollar amount, be sure that you put it in a frequency. Meaning, if it's like, I want to make $10,000 a month, put that in the frequency of what that $10,000 a month is going to bring you. What emotion is what I mean. Or, yeah, let's keep it with emotion. So is it bringing you freedom? Is it bringing you a sense of safety? I mean, be honest about it, you guys. Is it safety? Is it empowerment? So it's not about the $10,000. It's about what that $10,000 will bring you. So just take a moment and kind of sit with that, and then have that be your abundance. So your abundance would actually be an abundance of empowerment, an abundance of self-love, an abundance of freedom. Because when you're actually holding the frequency of what that $10,000 is bringing you, it's going to go a lot faster than if you're trying to actually manifest the $10,000, because $10,000 is actually just a piece of paper. It's what that energy of that is going to bring into your life. All right. So let's just take a moment to connect to the heart. And we'll start with that beautiful white blue light as it enters the nose and traces along the brain and down through the spine. Just allowing it to enter the heart space and fill the heart, even enter the chambers of the heart as your heart begins to beat. It's just bringing this beautiful divine light into your bloodstream as it raises the frequency of your body, preparing the cells to shift. And we'll just work with the recorder cell in the center of the brain. This is the cell that has recorded all the information of every cell of your body through all of your lifetimes, if you want to go as far as that, as we're tracing all the way back to the first particle of existence. And we're going to start by clearing, canceling, and deleting. This is interesting. Okay, so we're going to clear, cancel, and delete. If I don't focus on the darkness, if I don't focus on the lower frequencies, I won't be safe. We're going to clear, cancel, and delete. If I fully surrender, my life will fall apart. We clear, cancel, and delete. If I truly listen to my heart, my family will suffer. We'll clear, cancel, and delete. If I step into my power, I will be shamed. I will be alone. One moment. And we're going to clear, cancel, and delete. I am afraid of just how powerful I am. We're bringing in the 7 elements of the rainbow light as we clear, cancel, and delete and dissolve all of these belief systems that are no longer serving. And as this clears, we're bringing in the identity of I am empowerment. I trust in the divine within me. I enter the flow of light and know the light has me every moment. Trust and flow, the light has my back, always. I trust in my heart because I know within this space I can not fail. I am the light, I am love, I am abundant, and I attune my cells and every cell of my body to meet my consciousness and holding the vibrational pattern. And you can just bring in your intention now. Allow that frequency to download into every cell of your body, knowing that this is only a foundation and that you will continue to raise this frequency as you raise consciously to meet it. We'll allow that to move into divine expression through every cell of your body, witnessing the shift, feeling your frequency raise. And then we'll lock that in. And then we say, thank you, I love you. It's done. Great. So the witness of the part of you that saw the shift is the most important part of this, you guys, because now that you have witnessed it and you said thank you, it is done. So now what do you do with your I am? So picking a little part, whichever one kind of resonates with you. I love trust and flow. The light has my back always, because I know from that place I can't actually fail, because if I'm in flow and I'm not in resistance to life, I know I'm in the energetic pattern of my divine design. Another one, I said this yesterday in Manifest, of my very favorite sayings, and this is one I'm repeating a lot, is I experience the highest frequency of my divine design. Because then I know no matter what my experience is, that it is the highest frequency. And if I have anything that I say otherwise, I know it's the mini me. I know it's my ego in resistance to my design itself. And then I know I'm running a program. And then I can go in and do DQ and then recreate myself. So when you pick part of your I am right now, really start to create an identity consciously around that. So your body is holding the new identity, but you consciously want to be connecting to that identity as well. So if it's I am the highest frequency in my divine design, well, from that place, how am I thinking? What am I asking myself? What choices am I making? Am I choosing lack? Am I choosing fear? Well, of course not, because if I am at the highest frequency of my divine design, I'm consistently choosing the highest frequency of my thoughts, my life. I'm seeing from that perspective. And if I'm not, then I know I have work to do. And then I can start to ask myself, well, I know how I'm choosing things now, but if I was this, how would I be choosing differently? And starting to identify the difference between these two identities and starting to choose the identity of what I'm becoming. And it just becomes my spiritual practice until I fully attuned into this new identity and become it. And then hopefully I don't stay there and I do it again, because we never want to stay in any one identity for too long. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and open it up to discussion. Does anybody have any questions or something they want to share? You can just unmute yourself.
My little one's in the back. She's singing. Yes, thank you. I remember ordering the DQ coded abundance. And I remember the statement on there. I loved what you had on there. It was I delete the code of density and scarcity. I just can't remember the I am statement that was on there specifically. I did have it in my car for the longest time, and then I took it out and took it in my home. I wish I had it with me.
I don't remember what that was, but gosh, the word immediately that comes to me is expansion.
Expansion and abundance.
Yes, yeah, I love it.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. I love it. Yes, expansion, because if we're not in contraction, we're always in that space. Another word you could say is expression. It's we're moving the energy into a space where it's actually your divine design is attuning your reality. So that's the way you can kind of see that. I love that. Thank you, Abby. Let's see, Gabriella, let me see what you're saying. There would be someone completely new to having interest in. Oh, somebody that's completely new into coming into DQ, what would you say to them? I would say, you know, I did this. This will be a podcast that's going to come up. Or no, this was what actually my speech. So I don't know if it ever will be a podcast, but the title of it is "What if everything you know right now is wrong?" Because if we are all programmed to exist in duality, right? We are our bodies are literally programmed to receive information from the environment of the matrix itself. And that's what you can only imagine why can't we break out of matrix? Well, we're created in the matrix. We're being programmed within the matrix. And the only way to break the matrix is actually to break the matrix, right? Well, the quickest way to be able to do that is to change the one environment that the bit matrix can't actually program if we do it consciously. And that's by activating the technology in our DNA, because it is actually holding the gateway of how to exist in a frequency outside the matrix. So DQ is the beginning stages of tapping into that technology and moving your cells into a space of expression. You can imagine right now your cells are going into your environment, your body. Well, what environment is your body in? Your body's in the matrix, right? So when you turn that around and you actually start to tap into the intelligence that your cell is actually holding, it doesn't actually need to be told what to do. But because we use our consciousness, and every time we're trying to receive information, we're hooking into something outside of ourselves. Well, when we start to reprogram ourselves with our consciousness, we're turning all of that inside out. And so that our cell is actually holding divine expression. And when something is in expression, it's not receiving information from outside of itself. It's only an expression. So you become the projector of your life. You can see it just like a movie. It's you're creating the movie inside of your cell of the life that the reality that you want to live. And then the cell begins to express it or project it into reality. And when it does this for a long enough period of time, reality has to meet it. Because when you are only focused on the projection of your cell's intelligence, the reality that was programmed in duality goes away, because the truth is it doesn't even exist. The only thing that exists is what you focus on in order to create a reality. Science is proving this. There was a scientific, it was called like the Wayne Friends, I think, something like the Wayne Friend effect. And they did this whole scientific study that showed that two different people could watch the exact same particle split and see two different things depending on what reality they were holding. But when two people came together and said together that they saw this, that reality actually was created. So it shows that we actually shift particle form by what it is that we say that we are seeing. And this is scientifically proven now, you guys. So just think about that. So if we're programming ourselves to project a reality, and our consciousness is being held in that environment, our reality is going to meet that, because that's what we are creating. We are here to become the level of consciousness from which we were created. We are all master creators. And this is how we will shift what we experience as human form now into what I call the new human. So that's what, that is like the big picture of DQ. But we want to start this on a cellular level, because our cells are the one space that is holding divine intelligence that isn't being interrupted by our subconscious. Because once it's reprogrammed, it will hold the new program that we get it for a lot longer period of time than if we try to do it with just our mind. Thank you for that question. Does anybody else have something they want to add, or what they're experiencing? Anything about a question? Great. Well, I just want to thank everyone. Oh, go ahead, Victoria.
I was just thinking the expressions that we speak out loud, like, oh, it was written all over his face. And how we're actually expressing that, and or like, oh, I was talking to myself. Actually, we're talking to ourselves, right? Ourselves. And what you're saying is, by doing that, we're telling them exactly what to do. So I love that. It was really landed with me. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, this is one of my favorite places to really work on consciously choosing to move into the expression of my cells is doing mirror work. And it is one of the hardest places to do it, because the reflection that you're seeing in the mirror is showing you what your brain is programmed to see, right? Because that's how our brain is programmed to receive information right now, is by bringing information in from the outside. And so, what is it like to actually look in the mirror, tap into the divine expression of ourselves, and project that reality onto the mirror and see if we can train our brain to actually stay in projection and not move into reflection and kind of keep doing it? Because that's where we're all going, you guys. Because to actually be in creation, we're not using reflection in the way that we do. So there's two kinds of reflection we can use. We can use the super hologram or the matrix reflection, where we're finding truth in the illusion itself. Or we can use reflection to see the highest frequency or the divine within everything. And by doing that, we have to hold the frequency of the divine within ourselves to be able to see the divine in reality, right? Or in our reflection. And that's where you can actually use a reflection to amplify the divine frequency within you. And doing DQ is one of the fastest ways to do that, because we're actually reprogramming ourselves to hold the frequency of the divine so that we can see the divine frequency in our reality until we can move out of reflection altogether. And that's, taking DQ to a very advanced level. But why wouldn't we? Let's do it. So our cells are like, please do this, because we're ready to move into this space too. That's what they were created for.
Can I just chime in?
Absolutely.
It's funny. 2 years ago, I believe it was 2 years ago in the winter, whenever I started this journey with you and DQ. I can't, I'm sorry, just a second. I can't say that I understood every single thing that you would say respectfully. I just followed along. Because I just remember, oh goodness, I feel Denise would always have to translate, because she would always say that. And I would understand most of it, but now I fully understand everything that you say. And it just feels so good, because it's like, yes, I get it. I'm there.
Yay.
And I'm still learning. I'm still, coachable, but it's just, I just had a little epiphany just now.
I love that you said that. And so many people are right there with you, honey.
Yes.
In
the beginning, I was just like, whoa, that's going over my head, but I want to hang on.
I love it. Well, what you just said is that place where our cells know the truth, right? Or something in us knows the truth, because your cells are already holding the frequency of the truth. And when I'm speaking, your cells are resonating in the frequency that's behind it. And now all that happened is that your consciousness attuned to that frequency and met the intelligence there, and now you get it. And that's what happened. What you just described is exactly what we're doing on a cellular level. It's because our consciousness will eventually catch up, and we just are proof of that. Yay.
Thank you. It feels so good.
Thank you. All right, my lovelies. Well, thank you. And thanks everyone for listening and being a part of Activate Evolution. We are just sending you all so much love and a great big hug. And as always, take your I am from today, go express it, be it, and explore yourself in it. And through that, live at your highest potential. Sending you all so much love. Thank you.